Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Sex Bitch! I'm your host Sarah, and today we're going to be talking about the biggest problem plaguing our society today. Sex! In the last episode, I talked a little bit about social constructions. Well, it turns out race and ethnicity are also social constructions. Who knew? They're defined and maintained through interaction, and they do not exist biologically. Mind blown! They are reifications, social constructions. Race is a socially defined category based on real or perceived biological differences between groups of people based on the color of their skin. Ethnicity, however, it is a totally different ballgame. Ethnicity is a socially defined category based on common language, religion, nationality, history, or another cultural factor. Sociologists believe that race and ethnicity are seen as social constructions because they are not rooted in biological differences. They actually change over time, and they never have firm boundaries. A minority group is made up of members of a social group that is systematically denied the same access to power and resources available to the dominant groups of society. The white, heterosexual, cisgender Christian male. And Christian male, of course, but are not necessarily fewer in number than the dominant group. More than half of America is part of at least one minority group. African American, Jew, gay, transgender, lesbian, woman, red hair, people bigger than a size 10, people with disabilities. There are so many minority groups out there, and not everyone is talked about or even given the amount of help and support they desperately need. I'm going to put a few links down below for just a few organizations whose goal is to help some of the many minority groups in the world. That way, you can help out too. You're welcome. Racism is defined as a set of beliefs about the superiority of one racial or ethnic group. Mostly that is white. Some prevalent races and racist groups include this year's Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump, rapper Azealia Banks, and most famously the KKK, also known as the Ku Klux Klan, the most famous white supremacy group in history. By the way, to this day, the KKK is still in action and continue to fight against the rights of African Americans. Why does it have to be this way? Racism in itself is used to justify inequality as if there is any good excuse for hate, because, let's be honest, there's not. And is often rooted in the assumption that differences between groups are generic. This is an ideology that has been going on for centuries. Many children are born into racist beliefs by their parents. One case I found very interesting was this pre-teen singing duo Prussian Blue in 2003. They were these twin girls around the ages of around the age 10 to 14 years old. They were great singers, and they were singing about hate. They identified as neo-Nazis and fought extensively for segregation between whites and all other races, mainly African Americans. They even shuddered during an interview at the thought of racial diversity. Then, years later, at the age of 19, they changed their ways after going to public school and realizing how stupid those beliefs were. They are happy now to be in a world with so many different places and people. They love it. So that gives me just a glimmer of hope. Now, prejudice. This is more of a thought process than an ideology. This is an idea about the characteristics of a group that applies to all members of that group. Unfortunately, this is very unlikely to change regardless of evidence against it. People who are prejudiced, predominantly from what I've seen, the people who are prejudiced against the LGBT community are very close-minded and stubborn. Now I'm stubborn too, but not in that way. Basically, no matter what the law is or no matter what anybody says, they're going to keep on fighting against diversity and keep on spatting out that same stupid set of prejudiced, hateful beliefs, as I like to call it, crap. While prejudice and racism are a set of beliefs, discrimination is actually an action. Prejudice is something you think. Discrimination is something you do. What do they have in common? They both suck. They both suck whale cock. Discrimination is unequal treatment of individuals because of their social group. This is usually motivated by prejudice. Remember Kim Davis? Yep. What she did was definitely, without a doubt, discrimination against gay people. Not giving a marriage license to gay couples because you don't believe in gay marriage. Yep, that's clear discrimination right there. The upper middle class, the upper class or capitalist class, are the wealthiest people in the class system. This system and its people actually possess most of the wealth of the country. They are those people on Instagram showing off their BMWs, yacht vacations in the south of France, eating caviar and fancy food, and all that crap I probably can never afford to do. And most likely, most of you guys out there in the internet land can't either, since people in this fancy-pantsy rich upper class only make up 1% of the US population. And don't forget, one of the 1% is actually running for president. I'm looking at you, Donald Trump. Now, back down to earth here. The upper middle class system. I would say I'm on the borderline of upper middle class, or I would say my parents are. My mom and dad have money. As for me, I'm broke. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, upper middle class. See, this social class includes professionals and managers and make up only 14% of the US population. These are the people that have benefited most from college. Does that mean benefited financially or academically? God, I don't know anymore. Now, the middle class. These are primarily made up of white-collar workers, and they have a broad range of incomes. This makes up about 30% of the US population. So at least one of you watching this right now is middle class. Now it's time for the working class, or the lower middle class. This class also makes up 30% of the US population. These are blue-collar workers or service worker industry workers, like the ones at McDonald's or Starbucks. People in this financial class are less likely to have a college degree. The reason is not because of their intellectual standards and abilities, but because they can't afford it, or they had to drop out of school early and work 2 jobs on minimum wage or less in order to support their families. I will be putting some links down below so you can help people in this class go to college. I encourage you to help. Now to the lower class, or the working poor. There are so many poor people who typically have lower levels of education than other classes. It's the same reason why the lower middle class doesn't have a college degree. They can't afford college, or they are busy working 2 or more jobs on minimum wage or less in order to support themselves and their families. They've had to drop out of school and have found no time or money to go back. And usually they really want to go back and get an education, but don't have the means to get it. This makes up about 20% of the population, and you can help them. It's all up to you now. You can help them. There's a study that used participant observation from 2 different middle schools over a 5-month period in southwestern USA to girls' peer groups. First school, East. East Middle School is located in an impoverished residential neighborhood and has 1,164 students. 60% of students are African American, 26% are Latino, 13% are white, and 30% are white, yeah, I said that, and 76.5% are economically disadvantaged. Now, West Middle School. West Middle School is located in a suburban neighborhood and has 804 students. Only 4% of the students are African American, 3% are Latino, 91% are white, and 2.5% are economically disadvantaged. Feminine gender socialization involves learning ways to shape the female body in socially sanctioned ways. Some examples are hair, makeup, nails, clothing, diets, and working out. Although I wouldn't say doing makeup and hair and mani-pedi, getting a mani-pedi, is particularly bad or sexist. It all depends on how you see it. It's all about moderation and doing it for the right reasons. Do it for you, not for anybody else. Now here's a question for you guys. What kind of female peer groups do you remember from middle school? We all know middle school is a very confusing and scary time. Hormones running wild, sex, what it feels like it's being talked about almost by everybody, starting to find your identity. In East Middle School, female peer groups, or cliques, as I like to call them, there are the gangstas, gangsta wannabes, preps, and dorks. In West Middle School, there are just the preps and skaters. I don't know about you, but West Middle School kind of reminds me of the high school in Clueless. Remember that? Then there's that age-old adolescent debate. Conformity versus individuality. In middle school and somewhat high school, music is very connected to clothing. For me, I was born in 1996, so I grew up wearing clothes that resembles the stereotypical rock star from kids' movies and TV shows. I would listen to Hannah Montana, the Jonas Brothers, and NSYNC, and of course Britney Spears. So you can predict the stuff I was wearing at like 11, 12 years old. How do you think the students from East talked about teen girl eating habits compared to the students at West? How might these conversations and the influence of the media be harmful to young girls today? How do you think East Middle School talked about marriage, pregnancy, and parenthood? How would this differ from West Middle School? How do you think the peer groups address homosexuality, compulsory heterosexuality, and heterosexuality as the dominant feminine ideal? And what was your experience with these types of issues when you were in middle school? Leave your response in the comments down below. If you like this video, please press that thumbs up button and show your love. Keep on and spread the love, babies. I'll see you soon with more Sex Bunch. I'm Sarah Rose. Peace out.